Welcome to the Courage to Change podcast with Karen. I'm Karen Gardenier, and I'm your host. I am still reading from Let Go Now by Karen Casey, who also wrote Each Day a New Beginning. I'm just loving this book, and it's really been insightful for me. So I want to continue with this. I'm going to read number 6 today. And number 6 says, Detachment means giving up outcomes. Perhaps you have heard this wise phrase. Our job is in the effort, not the outcome. But how often do we embrace it fully? Generally, we want to secure the result that what we have been imagined. Wait, let me start that again. Generally, we want to secure the result that we have imagined is the perfect one. One more time. That doesn't make sense to me. Generally, we want to secure the result that we have imagined is the perfect one. Okay. To do this, we assume that we have to shepherd the project or the situation or the person down the path that leads to our definition of the natural conclusion. But the correct conclusion, God's will, might not even resemble our will. That's not an easy adjustment to make in our thinking. Hindsight, it is so revealing. For just a moment, recall a situation in your past that you were determined to control. But the outcome was simply not what you had envisioned. Can you see how much better God's outcome was? In my life, I had imagined to make happen many of my educated choices. I'd not be alive to write this book. Let me read that again. In my life, had I managed to make happen many of my educated choices, I'd not be alive to write this book. Thank goodness my higher power had a far better outcome for me than my own. Now I know, even though I am still inclined to forget, that doing my part and then letting go of the rest will ensure, at the very least, my peace of mind. I like that feeling. I don't know why I had such trouble reading that. Do you think it's because I have resistance? It may be. So I'm going to take a deep breath here. Let's all take a deep breath. We're going to try it again. I must have a block. That's what I think when something like this happens. I'm an excellent reader. So things like this don't happen very much unless my mind is close to the idea. So I'm going to read it again, and I'm going to ask my higher power to open my mind to what I can't see. And it's a good time for you to do the same. Okay. Detachment means giving up outcomes. Perhaps you have heard this wise phrase. Our job is the effort, not the outcome. But how often do we embrace it fully? Generally, we want to secure the result that we have imagined is the perfect one. To do this, we assume that we have to shepherd the project or the situation or the person down the path that leads to our definition of the natural conclusion. But the correct conclusion, God's will, might not even resemble our will. That's not an easy adjustment to make in our own thinking. Hindsight is so revealing. For just a moment, recall a situation in your past that you were determined to control, but the outcome was simply not what you had envisioned. Can you see how much better God's outcome was? In my life, had I managed to make happen many of my educated choices, I'd not be alive to write this book. Thank goodness my higher power had a far better outcome for me than my own. Now I know, even though I am still inclined to forget, that doing my part and then letting go of the rest will ensure, at the least, my peace of mind. I like that feeling. Detaching from outcomes, those that apply to us and those that apply to the actions of others, is the surest way to a peaceful day. Trying is believing. Well, as you could tell, I think this hit a button for me. I like doing this way. I like growing together. because I don't think you ever reach a point where you got it. I think it's like an onion peeling, and more shall be revealed. I've been doing this a long time, and I still hit roadblocks. And the thing I like about doing things as a community, like we're doing here, is that it's not like I'm a therapist or a psychologist and I say, well, this is what's going on. This is how you need to handle it. And like I know everything. I don't know everything, but I have a lot of experience. I'm pretty far down the road. But as you can see, no matter how far down the road you get and how much experience you get, you can still get blindsided. And it doesn't necessarily mean this week that it's a person. Um, but it's more this week, I think, about God's will and my will. I think that's what the stumbling block is for me. Now, how do I know there's a stumbling block? Because when I read it to you, I couldn't read it. My mind was racing. I was reading it the way I wanted it to read, not the way it was written. Does that make sense? I don't know if that's ever happened to you. But since I've been doing this work, I have been able to come up with ways to show I have resistance. Resistance is blocking me from everything, right? And resistance is me. It's in me. The resistance is in my mind, whether it's from my childhood, from my trauma, maybe it's just something all human beings have and we're always fighting resistance. I don't know. There's a lot of different theories about that, but I do know that I suffer from this resistance. And when I was drinking and using, that's the way my resistance was winning. It kept me stuck, right? It was holding me down. There's a great book. I think I've mentioned this before. If you have not read it, highly suggest you read it. It's called The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield. And he talks about resistance, and he talks about it more as a way, that you have to conquer it. And there's other people, like there's a man named, I think his name is David Grayson. He's got some great YouTubes. David Grayson, and he talks about resistance, but he talks about it more like it stems from our childhood, right? And we've got to overcome it, right? By changing our thinking. I think both are right. When I gave up drinking and using, and if you're a double winner on here, you know what I mean. If you're an alcoholic addict and a codependent, that's called a double winner in the rooms, 12-step rooms. And if you are a double winner, you know that when you drop one form of resistance, like alcohol or drugs, you'll find another resistance. You'll find another way to stop you from growing, from loving, from living, from being the you're intended to be. For some people, they start gambling. Some people, they start, a different kind of drug or prescription drugs or shopping. For me, I tend to work, and I wish it was exercise, but I don't have that one. But a lot of people do have that one. Um, and I get fixated on an idea, and I'm going to nurture every situation, person, thought, idea down this path that it was talking about that leads to my definition of the natural conclusion. And by the way, in this book, if you don't have a book, natural conclusion is in quotes, quote, natural conclusion, unquote. And I wonder, as I'm nurturing these things, forcing them down the path, if this is just another form of resistance to keep me stuck from doing God's will, or is this God's will? I don't know. Maybe this for you is a person. You're going to have to adapt it to your situation. What is it that you have decided you have the natural conclusion, the obvious best outcome in your mind? And how is that not working? And yet you keep doing it. And it asks us to look in hindsight. Hindsight's 2020. I'll give you some examples. As you know, as I've shared before, there's a member of my family that's ill. And it's been life changing. I'm not the only person, so don't think I'm a victim. I'm not a victim. I'm just explaining. But it's not what I thought it would be. It's not what I thought it would be. And so my life has changed dramatically because of this situation. Um, the normal family, I don't know what that is. Their kids grow up and then they go to college and they meet someone and they get married and they have children and then happy families, right? You get grandkids around, you get to enjoy your grandkids and yada yada, you get the picture. Well, that's not been my life. My life has been about that situation. That my whole life has been geared to that. And that's it's a lot of people. I think that's the normal family, is when you have it's not normal, the scenario I just said. Where did I get that in my head? Where did I think that wasn't the family I was from? So where did I come up with that idea? Was it Beaver Cleaver? Leave It to Beaver? Was it the Brady Bunch? Even when they divorced, right? They found each other and it was happy families. I don't know where I got it from, but it's not the norm. I know that. But that situation, hindsight now, I'm talking about hindsight. As painful as that situation was about 5, maybe 7 years ago, someone said to me, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe you help so many people, right? The work you do is amazing. You help so many people." And a gentleman at the table, a very wise man, said, "Thank God for the situation with that family member." And I looked at him and I was like, "What?" And he said, "If it wasn't for that situation, you would never have stayed sober. You would never have treated your codependency. You would never have dug deep into helping strangers all over the world. In fact, people shouldn't thank you. They should thank that family member for saving their lives." I was stunned. And in that moment, I had a shift in my perception and I thought, oh my God, that's true. I wouldn't be the woman I was if I had that other situation, if I had to leave it to Cleaver, leave it to Beaver, whatever, June Cleaver syndrome. I wouldn't. I'd probably be at Pilates or meeting my friends at Saks, Fifth Avenue, and then having lunch, right? I probably wouldn't be so into mental health and alcoholism and addiction and homelessness and all the things that drive me daily. So that is one of those things. In hindsight, I could see that God knew what was best for the big picture more than just for little old Karen. And everything's perfect in this world. I see that. So I feel like I'm talking to my therapist. Am I helping you at all? I don't know if this helps you at all. I hope you can relate to this in some way in your life, whether it's with a loved one or a challenge you have in your life. But, I get these outcomes in my mind of the way things should be. And I can look back and see that they were perfect the way they went. And maybe you can too. And if you can't, it's because you're not far enough out from it yet. You know how they say in the rearview mirror, objects may appear closer than they seem. You might just not be far enough out to see you know, the orchestration of God's plan in that situation. You might still be too close to it. So give it time, but usually hindsight is 2020 on these things. So the situation I'm dealing with now, we've been doing this now for 8 months. Today's my 28th episode, I think, and it's August 1st. So it's been about 8 months. I've been coming weekly to meet with you and share with you my struggles with codependency, my successes in recovery, and as a human being on the planet. And maybe that today's podcast might be more about that, uh, recovering as a human being, right? I mean, it applies to everything. But detaching from a situation can be anybody. You don't have to have an alcoholic and addict in your life to want to detach from a situation or need to. But when I try to force a square peg into a round hole, I'm sure that it's supposed to fit. And I'm going to force it. I'm a workaholic. I am going to force it. I'm a workaholic. I'm a fixer. I'm a get her done kind of gal. I'm an A-type personality. And I, so I'm going to give you an example. And this is very vulnerable for me, but I'm going to do it. Okay. So when I left that treatment center, God, it's been more than, I keep saying 5 years, but it's been more than that now. It must be 7 years. I don't know. I'm going to have to look 6 or 7 years. I keep saying 5 years every year. I'm going to look and see how long it's been, but it's been over 5, might be 7. And I left that treatment center and I had all this head full of knowledge about treatment centers. I really, I went to a treatment center, but I didn't know about treatment centers. I didn't understand what the purpose was. I knew they were to get you sober, get you clean, but I didn't understand the business aspect of it. I didn't understand anything about insurance. I didn't understand about how you've got to qualify to get in with your insurance company has to say you're sick enough to get in. You think if someone just said I need help, you give them help, but that's not the way it is. The insurance company have to deem you bad enough to let you into a treatment center. And I have seen some pretty bad people, trust me, and not be able, their insurance wouldn't cover them because they weren't bad enough, if you can imagine. So I learned a lot of eye-opening stuff. Not only was I an alcoholic addict who had been sober for 14 years and relapsed, could not make it back, dug myself into this hole of homelessness. I was broke. I was beyond broke. I was in the negative, big time. And I had really screwed up my life. And then I got sober again. And now I've been sober a long time again, double digits. But I went to work during that second stint of recovery. Not only did I learn what alcoholism was in myself, but then I worked at that treatment center and I realized about the business aspect and how to get insurance, how to get free treatment, how to go to sober living. Why is there sober living? Detox centers, dual diagnosis. I mean, I just learned maintenance sobriety. I learned so much more than I ever wanted to know. And I learned about the families. I always thought, oh, we should open a treatment center for the families, not the alcoholics, because if the families could get help, we wouldn't have as many alcoholics and addicts. And I know that that's probably going to piss some of you off, but it's true. If the enablers stopped, people would have to get well a lot faster. Let that sink in. So anyway, I did all this and I got out and I left that treatment center and I kind of retired. I decided that almost killed me. I was there for a couple years. And I mean, I built it up enough and the people that owned it, a Canadian company, they sold it. And I was out. I was like, hey, we're selling. Congratulations. We did it. Blah, blah. Goal achieved. And I took my bonus and decided I'm going to retire. It wasn't a big bonus, by the way. Don't think like I did not make it rich. But I had enough. I took a year off and I just decided to relax and try to regroup. I mean, it was stressful. I mean, you want to talk about if you're living with an alcoholic addict right now, you know what I mean. Multiply that times 30. And most of those people, 10 of them are detoxing, right? I had police and ambulances and parents and wives and people hopping fences and Oh my God, it was crazy. So I decided to take a break. So I took a break and I couldn't stand it. I was going to my meetings and people needed help and people didn't know what to do and I was given advice. And one day I decided that that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to spread the word. I wanted to help as many people as I could. So I did. You probably heard that story before. I just read a Gary Vaynerchuk book called Crush It. And I turned on my mic and my camera and I just started talking. And I did that about 7 years ago. And I started talking and I filmed every day, multiple times. And I took phone calls and I helped people. Oh my God, I was just banging it out. And then the pandemic hit. And that took it to a whole new level. When the pandemic hit, I went online and I on Zoom. And I realized, I think the whole real world realized we could do anything from home, like from anywhere. I mean, look at the other night with that. I don't know what political stance you are, but the other night they had one of the candidates had a political thing that grew up grassroots. And there was like 200,000 people on Zoom. It broke Zoom, right? So we're realizing now that you can really do anything. And that's what happened to me. I realized I could help people in Ireland. I could help people in the UK. I could help people in Australia and China. And I went to town. I just went crazy. And I put together some things. I was helping people step group programs, step groups for Al-Anons. I mean, I was just going mad. And I had picked up some work at that time. Well, I decided that I wanted to do this full time. I decided this was I have this great idea about opening these detox houses. Uh, One detox house, I want to open it in Missoula, where my family lives. And it's a detox house that helps homeless and indigent men get on their feet. And then it rolls them over into a ranch type facility that they can learn a trade. It's like a sober living, but they teach you a trade and you have to live among, the others, and there's chores and there's, things to build you back up, and people that come from the community and will help with resumes or job searches. And I have this whole plan, right? So I got this dream and I've got this dream. So I decide the best way. I can only help so many people, people contacting me, and I could only help one person at a time. And I wanted to be able to help big groups at a time. So I started putting together different things. Long story short, I'm not sure if this is God's will. It doesn't seem to be going the way I thought it was going to go. Uh, and I've been really questioning that. I've been questioning about the way I've been approaching it. I've been questioning about the way I'm presenting it. I've just created I created something new for alcoholics and addicts. Because one of the things in my mind is that so many alcoholics and addicts hate 12-step programs. They won't go to AA, they won't go to NA because they think it's a religious program and they hate the word God. And I'm sure you've heard this before in your own house with your alcoholic addict. And so I have efforted to put together a program that is for people that are, everybody's into this. People don't want to believe in God, but they'll believe in um, the law of the universe. They believe in the secret, right? They believe in vibrations and everything's energy and universal, the universal plane. Well, that can work as your higher power. People just are so, they're kind of closed minded about it. They just think AA is people trying to convert you, like you're going to get baptized and have communion or something. So I put together a set of steps, the 12 steps, in a language for people who are universally driven, that believe in, being in alignment with the vibration, that they want to be in, manifesting your reality, all that stuff. We all do that stuff, right? We all want to watch it so I decided I think I need to do that so that people that don't even want to hear the word God can do the steps. Now, they're the same steps. They're the same steps. They say the same thing. They actually accomplish the same thing that the 12 steps that say God do. So it's the 12 steps, like in a different language. That's all it is. But it took a long time. And I decided maybe that's what I needed to do, is make it more palatable. So I decided to also do, which I have not started yet, the 12 steps for atheists, right? Because I got to tell you, I know a lot of atheists that have gotten sober, but there's a lot of people that won't go to AA or NA or GA or CMA or whatever it is because of the word God. So I'm trying to make it so more people can get an answer. And I don't know why, but it's just like a passion. And yet I feel like I'm pushing a square peg through the round hole. I really do. I put a new thing up this last week. I decided if, I think I told you last week, if I died, I wanted to make sure some things were out there. And I recently did like an outpatient program for alcoholics and addicts. Outpatient programs now cost like, it's ridiculous. Even online, you're going to pay. Online treatment centers are still $10,000 to $20,000. Inpatient is 20,000 and up. Going to a detox center for 3 to 7 days just to detox, no treatment at all, just to detox, can be $5,000 to $7,000 and up, depending on what kind of place you go to. And I just think it's criminal that people don't have an opportunity to get sober. So I put together everything I know, everything that I do, everything I did during the pandemic to help someone get sober online. And I put this all together because I want people, there's a lot of people that can't go to treatment or detox. And I learned that in the pandemic. There are mothers, single fathers that have no one that would take their kids for 30 days. 30 days is a long time to take someone's kids. And there's no one to do that. So they can go to treatment. And, there's a lot of people that take care of an aging parent or an aging loved one or a disabled person. There's people that have agoraphobia and anxieties and social dilemmas that make it so they can't check in somewhere. People with OCD, they could never check into a treatment center with all those other people. I mean, there's just numerous people. I never thought of it before. And I helped a couple people. One was a rancher during the pandemic, and he could not leave his ranch. He's like, who's going to feed the cows? Who's going to feed the pigs and the chickens and who's going to do this? I can't leave my wife and kids with that. And I was able to help him get sober at home. So there's just numbers way, and the number one reason people can't go to detox or treatment is because they don't have any money. So I put everything together and I put it up, and I did put a price on it. Um because I have to cover my costs. I've been doing this for 7 years. I haven't been charging. I need to start charging. I want to do it full time. So I put a price tag on it. It's $47, right? Nothing. Crickets. So I think to myself, okay, I've got something that could really help people, and there's a high demand for it. So what's the problem? And then I think maybe it's not God's will. Maybe it's not God's will. Maybe I'm supposed to be, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I can't imagine that God's will isn't what your passion is. I don't know. I don't know. I guess you don't know until later, but I'm trying to let go. What's it say in this reading here? That's why I think I stumbled around on this so much. Um, it says, for a moment, recall a situation in your past that you were determined to control, but the outcome was simply not what you had envisioned. Well, that's hard to swallow. I mean, for me, um, I don't know. What's it say? What am I supposed to do here? I'm still inclined to forget. that doing my part and then letting go of the rest will ensure, at the very least, my peace of mind. Well, I don't have any peace of mind right now because I know there's a lot of people that need the information I have, and I don't know why they don't want it. And I have tried every avenue possible. I've spent thousands and thousands of dollars on courses, and I decided to give all that up. Forget it. I'm just going to put it together in a package, put it out for someone if they want it. The link's in my bio. No funnels, no fancy bullshit. There it is. It's not something you got to buy and then later you got to buy something else. You know what I mean? I just put it out there. I figured God would do the rest. But apparently that's not happening. So I need to let go of that, which means I need to shift. I don't know. Quite honestly, I'm a little stymied by it. I'm trying these different approaches to see how I can get the help to people. There was a lot of people that I helped in India, and there was a lot of places, um, Africa, people that contact me for help. They don't have any treatment centers. We're so blessed in the United States. And I thought for sure this would be perfect for someone that just, needed to get sober at home. This is exactly what to do. It's got all the tools, all the lists, what to do to safely, keep yourself safe. It's something that I would have wanted when I was out there. So, I'm trying to change my approach, and I've been telling myself that that is my readjustment. I'm trying to align to God's will. So I'm doing the same thing. I'm just dressing it up differently. You know what they say, you put lipstick on a pig, it's still a pig. So, I'm putting lipstick on a pig right now. I'm trying to make it more palatable for different kinds of people. And I don't know. I don't know. I'm having a hard time giving up. I'm having a hard time letting it go. I really do. And maybe that was why I was attracted to this book, let go now. I mean, maybe I need to just, close it up and do something different. I don't know. I don't know. And I don't know. In my lifetime, I've always known, like God's always shown me things. It's always been evident what my next step was. And this time it's like crickets. There's nothing. Like, I don't know. I don't know what God's will. And I keep asking him, God, please make it so obvious to me that you drop boulders on my head, right? And usually he does. I know what to do. And this time I don't. And so what I do know to do is when I don't know what to do, I don't do anything, right? No drastic moves. So letting go. I mean, the topic really, I hope next week is about not how to get let go, but how much. Like, is it like a dial on a radio where you turn it up and down? If it was a dial on a radio, let go completely was a 10, and hang on to everything as tight as you can is a 1. With this situation, I'm probably a 3. So think about a situation in your life. Maybe you think you're letting it go, like I do. But let's think about it like that. Let's say it's a volume knob on a radio. 1 is hanging on so tightly you can barely stand it. And 10 is letting go completely, like we're reading in these books, right? Like the goal. Where are you with letting it go? Are you on a 1? Have you just started listening to me and you're just getting the idea that there's a different way to go? Are you 2? Are you a 6? Maybe you're a 10. I'm a 10 on everything in my life I've worked on, except for this area. This area, I'm about a 3. And I don't know if that's because I just hanging on. I just can't believe that more people don't want help. I just can't believe. I don't know. I wish I had something like this when I was getting sober and when I was going through my years of codependent destruction. I might have salvaged a relationship that didn't have to be destroyed because I was so codependent. Um, but there wasn't anything. Maybe there was, but it didn't come across my path, nor was I looking for it at the time. I mean, I was doing the best I could. I think we all do. And so that's another point of this, maybe today's podcast is this. Maybe letting go isn't a one and done. Maybe there's a radio knob for different situations in your life. I've done a lot of letting go with people, right? I'm at like a 10. I can let go. I'm a 10 at what other people think about me. I don't care, right? I'm a 10 on everything except for, I guess, would you call it? I guess my passion. My passion. It's financial. It's financial, but it's giving up my passion because I can make money. I'm a good money maker. But this has kind of forced me because I'm not a millionaire. I don't make tons of money. And I've been doing this free for a long time. And I've had people ask me, do you make any money at it? Mostly family. Are you successful at it? Do you know, whatever. And I say, well, no, really, I do it as my avocation. And they said, well, you're really good. You should do this for your living. Well, apparently I can't. So I guess I'm at a crossroads and I need to move the dial from 3 to 10. Hmm. But I don't want to. Does that sound familiar? So what makes someone change? Consequences. So I guess what'll happen is I can either sit here and try to push this square peg into a round hole until I'm back in a shopping cart and then realize, oh, maybe I should do something else. Or I let go. Because in the reading, it says, if I let go, what God has in store for me is far better than what I have in store. So, I don't know. I don't know what that means. What does let go mean? What does it mean to go from 3 to 10 in this situation? Any ideas? Oh my God. I don't know if you got anything out of this, but I sure did. I think we all do. I think the reason that you're here listening, I don't think there's any accidents. I never do. You know, um, it's synchronicity, that I'm supposed to hear, I'm supposed to do. Everything is right where it's supposed to be, right? Um, when I need something, the teacher appears. And I'm sure it's that way for you. I'm sure you heard something today. I hope you did. Let me know. You know how to email me, right? Karen@KarenGardnier.com. Shoot me an email and just say, I heard what you said and this is what resonated. Maybe it was just the knob. To me, the big thing today, my big aha moment today was that there could be a knob for different areas of my life. I guess I've always thought that detachment and letting go, those kind of concepts, were all one knob. Does that make sense? Like in my life, I would learn to let go, and that means I would be able to let go of everything. I didn't really think about it today that I am really good at letting go on so many things in my life, except for this one thing. That's new to me. That's a new concept. And I'm going to think about that because that means I've done it before. And I need to apply the same principles of how I've done it with all the other areas of my life to this. Um, and that is powerful. That's going to give me something to really pause and think about a lot this afternoon. And I'm so glad you're here. And I'm so glad you're with me. Please make sure you look at the show notes. There's always interesting stuff in there. And lots of you might have known, I talk about it every week, that my Facebook was hacked. I finally gave up the ghost and I started a new Facebook page. But for some reason, I can't friend everybody. I go to, I'm even trying to friend my family, and it's saying, it doesn't seem you know this person, so you can't send them a friend request. Is that crazy? So if you were on my Facebook and want to continue that, there's a zillion Facebooks now because I've been hacked so many times. But look for Karen Gardenier. I'm in an orange shirt in the profile picture, and the picture behind me says, I'm not getting my Facebook page back, so I started a new one. That's how you'll know it's my page. But if I can get people back on it, I'm going to start that Facebook group up again for this podcast because that was really powerful. Um, so look in the show notes, and I'd love to hear from you all. I just love you. I love you to death. I feel like you got shortchanged today. I feel like I was supposed to give you something big, and all I gave you was is like a look at my path and where I'm struggling. And but I think I made a breakthrough today. And I've got some decisions to make. So anyway, I love you all. Thanks for listening. I'll see you next week. Come rain or come shine. I think this is, don't worry, I'm going to do my podcast. I think no matter what I do, if I become a florist or I go work at Home Depot, whatever I do, I'll try to keep going on my podcast. I love you all. See you next week.